pick the right like lockdown comp against it, so I reckon they will get through this game as well.
I think the EU's playstyle is just so much different in comparison to NA's that Scotty isn't really favorable in the majority of these situations because they don't tend to draft around her like we see from NA. But ideally, I would like to see not only Cabrakan and possibly Susanoo, but even Fafnir taken off the table. I think that the combination of Fafnir and Susanoo for either of these teams is just incredibly difficult to try and manage.
Well, Kepri and Cabrakan banned out so far from the respective teams, both Guardians. Once again, they have been the go-tos for most of Europe today, and that's why we see him off the Circuit one. He was poking his head out here, Nika.
See,
why?
now it's like, it's a strong pick, but then it also forces Elevate into, yeah, banning Susano, and Rival will most likely just take Fafnir here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, they love both of these teams, or not necessarily both of these teams. I shouldn't say both of these teams. It's just that Callus is so favored to this Fafnir pick. I mean, I mentioned at the start of this set, he loves that god way too much.
The thing with Fafnir, though, he's not necessarily the best support for disengaging or engaging, but he's all in. He's a nuisance more than not.
Especially with the way Dada's builds it, you know, Spirit of Desolation, Shield of Regrowth, Void
What's that about, that Spirit of Desolation?
It's just Dada's, you know. The way he plays is super aggressive. He wants to fight, you know. He doesn't like supporting, he likes carrying.
Well, this time round, he may have to deal with Callus and that Fafnir now up against the Zeus Honbat. That's pretty much Elevate's bread and butter there for the mid and jungle.
I have no complaints whatsoever. Even though Fails was unable to find success with his bots the first time around against Rival, I think that with the Zeus this time, it'll be much easier for him to try and get the ball rolling because now he has that mid lane pressure from the get-go.
Rama early drafted by Rival here, more than likely expecting Elevate to take it next just so it doesn't get banned out here, Nika.
Yeah, it's also one of Vote's like stronger gods as well, so there's obviously that to take into account, but as we all know, Jermaine loves Rama. It's his favorite pick, so...
He is Rama, basically in one sense of the word.
Careful.
I know.
You're going to end up on that.
I mean, I'll say it again if I have to.
I know you will, Nick. I'm sure you will. I'm pretty sure he's already heard it, though. Thor has been picked up this time round for Ice Ice Baby in the jungle. That's been a go-to for his for a while. Now it's good to fall back to it. And Thor hasn't been in the competitive scene as much as we used to see Taco, but he's still viable.
I would agree that he's certainly still viable. I also just really like the mentality for Rival, having that global presence in case bots or Zeus look for those early objectives. We've seen it happen a couple of times now already where Zeus's will look for those early gold Fury secures, and having a door available could help be a massive deterrence factor.
Is this a priority now, Nika, to try and get Dada so you continue to screen something before the counterban phase comes through? Because they're going to go to focus him, I'm sure.
I guess not.
No? Good call, Nika. Good call.
I was just going to say, I'm not really a fan of the Thor pick, because I think Ice really struggled to do anything with it. It's definitely something that I'm surprised that he's locked in already. You know, okay, he was practicing another god a lot. I was expecting him to bring it out, but maybe saving it for Enix if they get through.
See, this is the thing we've been on the analyst.
Yeah, I can't say too much.
You can't say, otherwise you'll never get scrims again.
He needs to make sure that he's putting more pressure on Elisa, otherwise it's going to be a repeat of the last game.
Well, let's see what Elevate and Elisa can do this time round then, because the counterbans are now starting to come through. Elevate have the first option for what to take away, will be the Osiris.
I'd imagine Rival will probably ban out Amir at this point in time. It would be a pretty solid choice. We know that Dardas can play Amir very proficiently, and if he were to obtain it, it could spell disaster for that Rama.
Well, Sylvanas ban, I expected Dardas will be getting a little bit of focus here. Sylvanas is one of those that's a bit of a go-between. Great lane pressure, can be aggressive at once, but also sit on the backside if need be.
Yeah, and again, Dardas has played Sylvanas a lot in the past, and there's no reason not to take it away. I mean, it's like forcing him onto some lower-end supports that haven't really been as successful, especially at this LAN. Maybe like a Bacchus.
I was going to say, Dardas, Bacchus, Ares are the first two that will generally come to my name after not seeing Fafnir and Zeus. Sorry, Sylvanas.
I just hope it's not the Ares.
Well, we'll find out if he goes for that one more time. I wonder if he goes Spirit of Desolation on that too. That'd be exciting, I'm sure. Bit of spice there.
I actually quite enjoy Dardas on Ares. I think that he plays the god very well.
I think he plays the god well, but the god itself isn't too good.
Not right now. Not in the lane clear.
I mean, we've seen it have some success near the end of the split, but I think there's definitely stronger picks.
Well, you may have taken out by Rival. Over to Elevate for their first pick here. They could look for their solo lane right now, or give him the option of the counter pick if it's available to them for the final pick.
It's as far as Elevate is concerned, I would imagine that they would try to give a favorable solo lane matchup this time around. I mean, everything's out on the line here, so you just want to ensure that your solo laner is as comfortable as possible. And I think that if No Numbers is given the opportunity to last pick, it would ultimately work out in Elevate's favor.
And Nico is up against Deathwalker as well. You mentioned yourself that Deathwalker's pretty much a danger man to watch out for on the squad.
See, this was what I was going to say. The Sobek's a flex again. Dardas can play it well, and if Numbers has to, he will. But the bans confuse me, right? Because Bologna is like the god Numbers is known for.
Sure.
And Osiris is like another strong god that he's very comfortable on, so I'm not sure if it's safe like forcing him onto a Guardian again, because we saw how that went in the first game. It wasn't great.
True, true. Well, Wolfie's going to go back to Ra here for the mid lane. Good combination with Thor for the setup potential. It's one of the things you would like for a Thor to have is a follow-up damage that's available to him.
You have a decent bit of setup, not just with the Thor, but also with the Fafnir, so I would certainly expect Wolfie trying to just spam his ultimate as much as possible with such a low cooldown, but you also have to be very concerned about the Sobek. Sobek's definitely one of those guys that's excellent at locking down, and Deathwalker, he just wants to run it back very long.
There's no reason not to. He's the only precious solo laner left other than Ravana, who's not getting much love right now.
Well, I mean, he's got love, but not in this patch that we're in, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You don't think he's enough in the next ones?
In jungle, he's good.
Okay, well. Are you spicily giving away things there? We'll find out. Elevate have one more pick to go. We'll find out if Sobek is going to be in the solo lane or he's going to be in the jungle. The Odin pick is also
the classic Elevate pick
as well. But it is flexible
here. The sleeper Odin pick.
This is budget Mogao coming out from Numbers.
Is that what we're seeing?
Yep.
Old school Mogao back again. No Hades this game.
So like the main issue I see here is Rivals comp is way too single target focused, which could be an issue. Like Elevates is just circles. Literally.
So team fight versus single target
composition picks. And I'd say in this meta, AoE is a lot more important. So I think this is going to be quite a one-sided game. In favor of Elevate. What about you, Taco?
Timing's going to be key for Elevate, especially with Numbers on that Odin solo, if it is Odin solo. But overall, I would have to agree with Nika. There's just too much single target on Rival. I think Elevate take this one.
Can Rival find the picks they need in the single skirmishes, or will it be the AoE team comp that Elevate have drafted? Agro, Anatoly, take us to the game.
We're here. We're in Game 3. Winner of this one, they move on to face off against Enix right after this. And Toli, I just cannot get over how much I love this Odin pickup for Elevate. Not only is it great against Ra, but Erlong Shen as well has just had such a difficult matchup in lane.
Like you mentioned, there's great control, there's great circles that Nika mentioned on the desk, but I feel like this is a mid-game composition coming out of Elevate. The late game out of Rival is really scary if you actually think about it. Rom here being paired up with Fafnir, that Coerce is just going to amplify his attack speed even further. The raw sustain to be able to bounce in and out of team fights can keep everyone from Team Rival topped off in these engagements, and if Elevate don't win about, like, let's say the 20 to 25 minute mark, or at least have a substantial gold and experience lead, things can start trickling down into Rival's favor.
We don't usually talk about late game Guardians, but Fafnir, for my money, is probably the best Guardian you want to have in the late game just because of how much better Coerce gets as the game goes on. And whenever you can transform into that Draconic form and then give multiple members of your team Coerce, it just gets even better.
Ooh, no numbers though in a 1v2 spot. Deathwalker though, it really low. The jump from Fails getting a little bit more damage. Really aggressive is both of these soul laners. And the timing here, Deathwalker, if he backs here, he's going to have to use a really early teleport.
Love this positioning from No Numbers and Fails to deny Deathwalker the ability to only back or go back to lane. Two members here for Elevate. Dardes and Nulissa up against Ice and Wolfie.
Deathwalker starting his own blue buff, or at least just getting the minis before he heads into the lane. A nice little idea just to get some more experience under his belt. As he heads back to the lane, he will hit level 2, but Rival on the mean hand has been taking away this purple buff, and more than likely going to start this red.
This is exactly what we saw from Rival last time around, just pressuring the left-hand side, making sure Jermaine doesn't get off to an early lead. It obviously didn't end up mattering too much because Jermaine came back and had a phenomenal late game on the On Her. But maybe this time around on the ROM, Vote's going to be able to shut him down earlier on.
I think that's the key there. You're not necessarily looking to shut down Jermaine on the On Her. You're looking to amplify and accelerate ROM into that mid to late game just to get more attack speed, more damage online paired up with Callus on this Fafnir, which has been such a highly prioritized god thus far in both North America and Europe.
Right now, Wolfie, he's sitting in the mid lane on this Ra. We've seen a decent amount of Ra, I would say, this weekend in the mid lane to varying levels of success. Whenever the team with Ra gets to be on the offensive and, you know, find those aggressive snipes, finish off low health targets, and use that sustain, Ra can be incredibly effective, but from behind, he just doesn't bring enough damage.
Fails trying to do a little sneaky encounter, overhand smash over the top, but absorbing too many archer shots still on him there is the squishy Hunbats, already about half health, and against Ice Ice Baby playing the Thor in a 2v2 encounter, that amplifies his passive quite heavily.
No numbers on this Odin is going to have the superior clear in this instance. That's why you see Ice and Deathwalker just kind of hanging out and letting No Numbers and Fails control that lane for the time being.
Not really much action here outside of these invades. Both of the junglers and soul laners are kind of tickling each other at this point. Still a lot of potions and sustain on both sides in the soul lane, but not just one health potion for Deathwalker. Has to rely more often than not on this Death's Toll for the sustain.
Does No Numbers have to play with any sort of fear for ganks from Ice Ice Baby, or is Odin safe enough that he can continue to jump the wave?
Not until Ice Ice Baby's level 5. If Ice Ice is level 4, then sure, he can jump on the wave all he wants. But once that Thor hits level 5, the global pressure, especially without wards this early in the game, is always going to be a threat out of the Thor.
Odin in this solo lane was even, you know, is always kind of right on the cusp of being, I don't know if meta, he's just always a counter pick. He's a situational pick up against teams that don't have a lot of leaps and a lot of ways to get out of that cage. And of course, shutting down that healing with 100% healing reduction. But even when it was only Erlong Shen dominating that solo lane, that anti-heal was enough to lock down Erlong that he was picked if Erlong was the only healer, let alone if Rival had something like a Ra.
And this is why the Odin has been drafted, not only to shut down the Ra in the mid lane, but also to shut down the potential sustain from Deathwalker as he hits level 5.
There's the pluck onto Wolfie. He's in a bad spot. Nulissa didn't even have the ultimate because she didn't need it. Fails. Claims first blood in the middle lane onto Wolfie.
Great start for this Hunbats in the jungle role. Able to really get off the start. And with this Hunbats getting the first blood, already one level ahead of Ice Ice Baby. And after the kill onto Wolfie, the Purification Beads was used anyway. Gold Fury though, Nulissa's ultimate still available.
Ready to go just in case, but Vote has his as well. There's the ult out of Nulissa. Vote up into the sky, but is not able to steal it away. Elevate, get the Gold Fury, fails, jukes out the 3 shots remaining from Vote. So Elevate get not only the first blood, but the first objective as well.
And Darda is doing a good job distracting Vote. It's a bit of a diversion here that the Sobek support made you look kind of deal. Like a little magic trick over here. Like, you're going to pay attention to me while the rest of my team completes this objective.
Dardez on this Sobek set up that first blood in the mid lane, despite Wolfie being pretty far ahead just in terms of raw XP numbers. Ice and Deathwalker trying to steal away this blue buff from No Numbers, who's just walking around there trying to dissuade them from doing so. Blue buff does go over to the side of, it looks like, yes, Elevate actually, No Numbers got that 2v1.
Surprisingly enough, Bird Bomb does a lot of damage. Cal is doing a lot of damage, or taking a lot of damage from Jermaine and Dardas. The Bruise Brothers showing why it's their nickname.
And the speed buff going to be secured here from Fails. Ice, after that failed invade on the blue, decides to just allow Fails to grab his own speed buff. Deathwalker knocks up that bird bomb. Nice play there, but now he's in trouble, locked in that cage. No heal coming for him. Ice is coming down though. There's the damage on a No Numbers, but the patience for the Fear No Evil is good. Fails, cleans up Deathwalker. Now it's Ice Ice Baby without any mana. The bird bomb stomps him down. 2 kills in the solo lane, both going the way of Elevate.
So much damage coming out of this level 7 Odin that does have the Warrior Tab be complete. That 40 physical power, amplifying that bird bomb quite heavily here, as well as the enhance. Finding the 1 kill earlier on to Deathwalker gives him that 1 passive stack of more mobility, more attack speed to allow it to chase down Ice Ice Baby even further.
I love the patience there from Fails to not use Fear No Evil right away. He waits until Ice Baby lands down. Ice did not have his purification beads. He used those in the mid lane, when Wolfie did from that initial engagement, really heads up play there. We saw Deathwalker pop his ultimate pretty early on, and that's to get that damage reduction in the Odin cage. Is that the way you think he should play it, or should he wait until it's almost over to try and get the heal as the cage falls?
That's probably the better case, but on top of that, you're also trying to use it just to be able to stop the abilities from being used. Vote taking a lot of damage from that, and Jermaine just solos Vote, but his jumps down.
Now it's Ice Baby. There's a snipe onto him from Wolfie. Jermaine still trying to box it out without a jump. Nowhere for him to go, but No Numbers has made the rotation and locks down Wolfie. Dardes tries to toss Ice Baby into the cage, but can't do so. The dive underneath the tier 2 tower is good, and Dardes cleans up number 3. 3 for 1. Elevate continue to control the game up against Rival.
Jermaine baiting the counter rotation from Rival, and just like that, the counter to the counter rotation has been made. Elevate capitalizing on another great positional advantage, and No Numbers made this rotation without teleport. He just walked all the way from the soul lane. He expected this kind of pressure to be coming from Jermaine, and that there would be a small skirmish in this jungle.
Well, it looks likely that that tier 1 tower on the right will fall. Deathwalker didn't come and help out in this engagement, but will at least get 500 gold for the team, or nearly. Dardes has made the rotation and may be able to disrupt the solo laner from getting that global gold for his team.
Ooh.
Finally does fall, but it's going to cost Deathwalker his ultimate.
You can't block the AoE cleave enhance coming out of Deathwalker, the ultimate being used just to get a little bit of extra health under Deathwalker's pocket. Dardes tried his best efforts to stop that tower push, but those cleave enhanced is just too much.
Look at this build coming out of Deathwalker. Usually we were used to seeing him build Mark of the Vanguard right after his boots, but this time after he died in lane, he bought it before the boots. Now the boots are completed, so it's not as big of a deal, but do you like that idea to get it a little bit of extra protection at the time?
Considering both Hunbats and No Numbers has the Bluestone Pennant, you're mitigating a lot of that tick damage with Mark of the Vanguard. Great idea, great opposition or wall that you're putting up against that start item.
There's a snipe onto Nulissa, beautifully timed out of Wolfie, but there's a lightning storm. Wolfie falling very low. Ice cleans up Nulissa. The overhand smash doesn't quite get there in range. Kalas pops that meditation, and now Ice looking to play aggressive.
Jumping over the walls, Jermaine does her Fury, trying to find the kill onto Wolfie, landing back down. Jermaine's gonna fall as well as fails, and that's gonna be a nice little pickup. Rival finding 3 members in mid.
Just too aggressive there out of Elevate. What looked to be a great flank coming out of Nulissa, and fails. It gets turned on their head. Wolfie's just been so loose with these Searing Pains. As soon as he sees someone CC'd, the immediate ultimate. Who cares if they've got purification beads? At least the damage is confirmed.
A lot of back and forth action between these two teams, Aggro, already. Rival getting back into it despite losing the Gold Fury earlier on and losing 3 for 1 around the dueling. They were able to get a 3 for nothing and a tier 1 mid tower. They felt very confident to be able to push the tier 2 tower up until No Numbers revived and used that teleport just to defend the tower.
Those graphs tell quite the story. I mean, Elevate was in control early on. Rival certainly fighting back. Gold Fury started up here. Rival don't have any vision on this. Ice Baby's backing. All of Rival have no idea this is going on, and Elevate get the second Gold Fury and rip that lead right back out of Rival's hands.
10 total kills in less than 10 minutes of gameplay, just like that. A much quicker pace compared to the previous games played today and yesterday, I would say, for the most part.
Yeah, this is definitely going pretty quickly here. 6-4. Got more than a kill a minute. Look at this grouping here from Elevate. They tried to get Wolfie to step up another step or two, but he did not take the bait. Fire Giant about to spawn right now, trying to get those fire elementals before the Fire Giant spawns. Elevate does so successfully, snagging away that last bit of farm before they disappear forever.
Portal Demon also around the corner for both of these teams to take, depending on which one is frisky enough and has the vision control around that area of the map. But instead, looking to play very carefully here is Elevate. Without that tier 1 mid tower, they don't have too much to fall back to, especially with a tier 1 in the soul lane gone as well.
Fails has a 2-level lead over Ice Baby right now, about 1.5 levels after that speed buff. 3-1-2 for the jungler, who, even though they lost game 1, also had a pretty solid showing on this Hun Bats. Fails' addition to this team has just turned them into a real contender very, very quickly.
Formerly, it was World Edit on this squad, but Fails has stepped it up, making sure that his team gets the lead that they really need to. And, you know, this used to be a bottom-seeded team in former splits, but now, with this roster changes, they've been comfortable enough, and they're now this middle-of-the-pack team, giving a run of Rivals money.
You heard Nika on the desk. He thinks the biggest difference for Elevate is losing Mogao in that solo lane and picking up no numbers. Certainly had a great game so far. It was 1-0 and 2 for the solo Odin. But Fails that addition as well, bringing back Nulissa after she was off the team for a little bit. It's really turned Elevate into a really solid squad. Jermaine is actually doing these mid-harpies right as Collis and Ice Ice Baby are on the other end. That wall does not block off Jermaine's escape. The snipe is perfect out of Wolfie, and Jermaine gets erased in that mid lane.
Jermaine just looking back at the wrong area. He was walking backwards, slowing down his mobility, confirming both the first and the fourth ability from Wolfie's Rod. Just so much damage, and I like the idea that Nulissa had. She used the Lightning Storm just to make sure that Ice Ice Baby, if he committed to the hammer teleport to use that Berserker Barrage just for damage follow-up, that he would be taking a lot of damage in return.
Wolfie is feeling it right now. When you're playing raw and you hit those just raw 1-4 combos, that's when you know you're in a good spot. Wolfie's not in a good spot anymore, though. After this bird bomb from No Numbers drops him down, Nulissa gets that last hit. Kalas has to jump up over the wall to get out of lurking in the waters, but now Ice Ice Baby looking from the top, trying to find the target, and he hits two.
Hits the two. Darnaz in a world of hurt, both taking him out completely. No Numbers gonna get stunned out, knocked up, jumping away in the sky. The snipes finds the two that he needs. Third one doesn't even matter. A 1 for 2 in the end.
Vote picks up to the double kill, getting that last one with the snipe. You mentioned it, Tully. It's all about Rival accelerating this ROM to the mid to late game. That double kill now puts him up 2 levels over Jermaine. Fails, blinks in, trying to get Rival off this Portal Demon. He does have his Purification Beads and Fear No Evil ready to go, but holding it there, the beads, trying to get out of any potential CC, but Fails has already gotten down to 1 HP.
Oh, Jermaine missing the Impale, but it's not going to matter. The rest of Rival not going to chase down that Hunbats that is very low. Starting up the Portal Demon, Nulissa warding over the wall, but she puts herself out of position.
Lightning Storm there right on top of her. Aga's going to buy her a bit of time as well. The snipe is perfect once more from Wolfie, but not enough to finish off the mid laner. Portal Demon does go down in Rival's favor. That Phantom coming up big for Deathwalker, getting him out of that dangerous situation on the right side mid-harpies, and Team Rival managed to disengage.
Great stun from Callus, surviving is Deathwalker barely, but zoning out, successfully able to do the Portal Demon is Rival, so getting 750 gold under their pocket. Ice Ice Baby doing his own speed buff, barely able to escape that one. And I was wondering who would it be to grab the Phantom eventually on the side of Rival to deal with this Odin out of No Numbers. Normally it will be your supports, but because of how long it takes for supports just to hit level 12, it is going to be the soul lane this time around. Deathwalker surviving.
Fire Giant started up here, but No Numbers knows this is happening. Doesn't have that cage available, but I think just his presence alone is enough to get them off the objective.
The reasoning why Rival is starting it up is because of the power spike from Vote, finishing off the chin size just now, giving him a lot of attack speed, especially with his coerce, and with the ultimate from the Callus here, it's going to basically be an AoE coerce.
Ice Ice Baby forced into the Anvil of Dawn after the cage coming down from Odin. That's going to be a win for Elevate. That Odin cage on a very, very low cooldown, especially with that 20% CDR coming off that Breastplate of Valor.
No problem there. Trading the shorter cooldown for not only the longer cooldown, but also the global cooldown. So that's going to alleviate a lot of pressure on the side of Elevate.
Jermaine looks like he wanted to go into the Ichaival, but then decided to go for Light Blade right after starting off that short bow. A little bit of, he just wants a lot of attack speed, I guess, Tully. It's just attack speed. That is an attack speed item into an attack speed item.
It's a very cost-effective option to be able to go for these tier 1 items and trying to match the attack speed steroid coming out of Vote and the buff attack speed coming out of Callus.
And now he's able to back and finish off that Ichaival, so it ends up working out for the Hunter Jermaine, who's sitting at 1-3-1. So you can never really count out the Hunter, always ready to make those highlight reel plays. Elevate know this Gold Fury is happening because of their Oracle vision, but it doesn't matter what they know because Rival's just going to take it anyways. Wolfie secures it with that Searing Pain. First Gold Fury of the game for Team Rival.
And it's not that long of a cooldown either, so it's not like Elevate can take advantage of this Searing Pain being on cooldown. The rest of Elevate have to figure out what is their next step because they have these 3 aggressive blinks yet again, but this time it's Dardas playing the Sobek. So these pluck blinks might catch Rival off guard.
Classic Dardas. He's up in game 3. The spring split lives of Elevator on the line, and he goes right back to the blink Sobek.
I mean, honestly, if you're feeling it, if you're confident, this shows that Dardas is confident, no matter the stipulations. The elimination game here, in game number 3, Rival against Elevate, and your support player is still looking for the offensive plays.
Always does. He wouldn't be Dardas if he wasn't going for aggressive plays like that. Grouping on this right-hand side, this tier 1 tower going to fall, 500 gold for Elevate. Deathwalker and Kalas trying to get in there and initiate the fight. Deathwalker still frontlining. There's a taunt onto Nulissa. Ice Baby now getting up into the sky, comes dunking down, finds 2 with that one, but it's in the Odin cage. Nulissa falling away 1 HP. She will get picked up by Kalas. Vote looking for the snipes. Looking for the third, hits it on a no numbers, but not enough to make him fall just yet.
Great snipes coming out of Vote as he confirms the 1 kill and even hitting the third on another, forcing them to back. When Nilissa fails dead for another 25 seconds, this is going to allow Rival to utilize the raw heal on Wolfie and push down this tier 2 tower.
There's that AoE coerce, teleport coming in. There's the blink pluck onto Vote, right back into the impale out of Jermaine. That Thor wall hurting more than it's helping the team, but Vote is able to roll right out of danger. Dardas forced back as well due to the damage coming out of Rival, but here comes the sustain from Wolfie. We haven't seen it come into play yet, but Jermaine just gets bopped after that stun from Ice Baby. No numbers, likely to fall as well. Jumps away, but has to juke back into the team. There's the Raven shield, so No Numbers actually does manage to escape with his life. But that tier 2 tower for Elevate falls, pushing Team Rival's lead up about 5,000 gold.
1,500 gold after that tower, grabbing the speed buff, going for the blue buff as well. Has to be careful though, because fails and Dardas is right around the corner. Going into the sky is Ice Baby. He wants to go for Nulissa and finds her.
Without any actives ready to go, Nulissa's going to be in trouble. Great pluck though from Dardas. Gets his mid laner out of danger. Unfortunately, there was no such peel for fails. He falls for the 3rd time this game.
And because of the Gem of Isolation on Nulissa, the Lightning Storm makes it impossible for the rest of Rival to really chase where the tier 2 tower used to be.
This is the problem right now for Elevate, is that this game has been so fast-paced. We've got 18 kills in 18 minutes. There hasn't been a really a long laning phase. There hasn't been an opportunity for Odin to really get a lot of farm. Meanwhile, basically all the farm for Rival is going on to Vote. He's 3 levels up over the enemy solo laner.
Having Fatalis now, it makes it even more difficult to really get away from the Hunter that's away, or to even catch up to him as long as he's kiting backwards. Portal Demon will successfully go the way of Elevate there, but Dardas has to pluck away into safety. The rest of Rival, though, could take advantage of this, look for some aggressive sentry warding, and then just continue slowly onslaughting the rest of these tier 2 towers.
There's only 2 left on the left and right hand side. Meanwhile, look at all the towers standing for Rival. Elevate only managing to take down this solo tier 1 tower. Gold Fury is due to respawn in about a minute. I think Rival may just kind of sit on their hand for a while and wait to try and get that next objective that isn't quite as risky as the Fire Giant.
Wolfie thinking about what he wants to do, whether he wants to go with Ice Baby around these oracles, or if he wants to sit next to Vote the rest of his carries. And these are the 2 players that is going to sit in the back line, trying to make sure that they stick on the same target if they get dove.
Wolfie and Vote have both had phenomenal games. Ice done a great job setting up for those 2 players, but the long-range snipes out of both these guys, definitely a big reason why Rival is on top right now. Remember, the winner of this game will play right after this up against Enix, Funball and company, definitely awaiting their opponent. but sure to be a good match either way. These two teams very, very evenly matched, Totally.
Absolutely. Just separated by that 1 seed is Rival and Elevate, and there's no easy task to face off against Enix, one of these teams that's been fluctuating between the standings of first place, but now it's his second last. There, Callus, though, going to find the stun onto No Number, sending up a lot of follow-up damage. Deathwalker pinning Nilissa in the backline. Ice Ice going into the sky. Who's his target?
Jermaine is the target, but he jumps out of the damage from Anvil of Dawn. No purification beads necessary. No Numbers is forced back, but is going to be able to heal up and be A-okay for the time being. Fire Giant is started up by Vote, using that Fatalis to kite it around. Dardez knows this is happening and has that blink ready to go.
It's all a bait. It was just Vote trying to get some pot shots onto the Fire Giant just to show animations towards Elevate. It's like, hey, we're doing the Fire Giant, but you can't really see what health it's at. If you come any closer, now we're going to start collapsing on you.
Collis can't quite find that hammer, but there's the blink pluck. Vote beats it away, though. Dardez gets hit by Wolfie's snipe. It is very low right off the bat. No Numbers into the back line. There's the cage down, but the Phantom was up and ready for Deathwalker, so everyone from Rival just disperses off of it. Kalas forces out the purification beat from Nulissa, and a massive taunt coming out of Deathwalker! No follow-up, though. There's the snipes come out of Vote. Can't quite clean anybody up until Ice Ice Baby finds Nulissa.
Vote finally finding the kill onto No Numbers. 2 dead on the side of Elevate. Fails jumping over the mid wall. 2v2 Ice Ice Baby and Deathwalker finding Jermaine, and now Dardez barely able to escape. One of the 2 surviving Bruise brothers, but the Fire Giant will certainly get completed here uncontested for Rival.
Fails backs in that mid lane after pushing down a tower. The just staggered CC out of Team Rival was so phenomenal there, Totally. Elevate grouped up in a tiny little corridor. It's a beads here, it's a beads there, and then all of a sudden Deathwalker comes right in there and taunts basically the entire enemy team.
I think he hit at least 4 members, if not the entire squad out of Elevate, and that was basically the team fight under a bag. With that kind of a huge control, there was just not too much to write home about, and the experience in Gold Gap off of the team fight recap after these 3 for nothing, it's a benefit for Rival as they're trying to close the game out.
The golden experience were big, but the damage was not. The damage was fairly close to even in terms of which team did of which amount, and it's just about the focus onto the priority targets from Team Rival, as well as that sustain coming out of Wolfie, keeping everyone on his team alive.
Yeah, it just looks a little bit lopsided, right? Because of the sustain from Wolfie is able to turn the tides quite heavily in his team's favor. Finding the Gold Fury is Rival around the 22.5-minute mark with Fire Giant for another 3 more minutes. They're able to aggressively find these sentry wards between the red and the purple out of Elevate. Controlling this side of the map is going to allow them to start getting these remaining tier 2 towers.
Rival, the 5th seed, trying to go up against Enix, the one right above them. They're all playing for the right to go up against the defending world champions tomorrow afternoon. Really excited to see exactly what sort of matchups we will see, but this game certainly delivering in terms of hype thus far. 14-7, Rival now up about 9,000 gold. They've really just taken these last few team fights and utilized that sustain from the Raw perfectly.
Just able to play off of one another, which is why we see this kind of a lead for Vote here. Level 18, able to finish off this Executioner. Still no lifesteal on this Hunter, really banking on the fact that he's going to be able to peel for himself. He's going to rely, as well as Callus, Deathwalker, Ice Ice to give him the space control he needs. And then, off of that, he also has the Raw sustain.
Well, what do you usually see that denies these Hunters without any lifesteal? It's the Thorns coming out of the solo laners, but No Numbers is elected for the Blink instead, so that's not going to be there to punish Vote or Jermaine, as the Phantom was picked up by Deathwalker as well. So either way, I mean, these guys can get away without a whole lot of lifesteal.
Not a bad idea here to boot. A lot of tankiness coming out of Deathwalker. Having Merguardian Mail after the Mystical Mail, Heart of the Urchin at 3 stacks. A lot of health in this build.
And here's the, you kind of brought it up there, Toli. This team just has such great synergy. They've able to just work so well together. The CC, Wolfie's always ready to snipe off of that kind of stuff. And I think it just goes back to this is one of only 3 teams that did not make any roster changes coming back from last year.
The synergy has just been so evident for Team Rival. You know, in Season 4, there's only 3 teams I can think of that haven't switched their roster. It's Energy, the former defending world champions.
Naturally.
Team Eager, the North American squad that's been so innovative all around. And then it's the quiet Team Rival that no one's really expecting too many big things of. stuff, but so far they've been playing at a high caliber level.
That's something that I think a lot of people overlook, and maybe we don't bring up enough, is just the fact that a team that it's a little bit easier to stay together whenever you're near the top of your region. You know, Energy, of course, you win a world championship, you're not making any changes. Eager felt like they could have won a world championship, and so you expect them to kind of stick together a little bit. But this is a team that has always been together and has just been working their way up, steadily improving, and now they have a chance to move on and face Enix here late in the Gauntlet.
I mean, the only true change that they did was they changed their coach from Hazer to Alpha Jackal, and at this point, it's still working out well for them, at least in the drafting phases, and they're now in a position to close out this important game number 3 to take it to the next step against Enix.
Only a minute left, a little bit plus on the Fire Giant buff as the middle of Tier 2 falls. Last tower remaining is on this left-hand side, and Elevate don't seem too keen on defending it. Vote with that Coerce buff, just way too much attack speed for Elevate to get in there in time and defend this 1,500 gold tower.
Getting themselves a 13,000 gold lead. Very substantial amount. Deathwalker just poking out no numbers, expecting the rest of his teammates to follow up, but taking a very safe pathing is Vote and Wolfie along the mid lane, which is what you want to see with a Fire Giant team.
The good news here for Elevate is that only one lane has minions pushed up to the Phoenix. A lot of times we'll see teams try and get all 3 lanes with minions ready to go so that they can remove those backdoor protections. But Rival has to commit to this mid one instead. There's the blink in from no numbers. The cage is down. Phantom ready to go for Deathwalker. The Lightning Storm up on top, and then he pops the Relic, baits out that ultimate from Nulissa. Fails to separate to the left-hand side, so Ice Ice Baby's looking for it, but he blinks underneath the Anvil of Dawn. It finds Vote. Dardes cleans up the Hunter, who's been a real thorn in the Elevate side.
Fails, using the beast, jumps back into the Phoenix, taking a lot of damage. CC'd in Eternity. Wolfie, though, gets jumped on. Not enough damage because the shield being used later on, but still finding the kill is no numbers. 2 for nothing, despite the Fire Giant that was on Team Rival. They get the worst end of the things.
And the Phoenix stands. The defense from Elevate is perfect. Love the patience there from Deathwalker to hold the Phantom to make sure Nulissa ults, but fails with the perfect timing to blink right underneath that Anvil of Dawn. Really set up that kill onto Vote.
The thing is, whenever Thor is in the sky, you just look at him to see which direction he's facing, and with Fails being on the left side Phoenix, and he was the only one. He was the obvious target, so all he had to do was use that blink once he saw that hammer stop spinning towards his path.
Well, now it's a matter of what can Elevate get off of that team fight victory. They only got 2 kills, still have to worry about a couple other players here defending these middle tier 2 tower. Not worth a whole lot at this stage in the game, totally still worth the same amount, 1,500, but in terms of what it actually means for Elevate.
Elevate trying to get this tier 2 tower. No numbers is taking a lot of damage. Let's listen to Elevate as they take this team fight.
Well, Rambo.
Careful. Toy is missing.
That's all I've got.
Reset.
I need help.
I impale elbow. I still have impale for you. Run.
They're
Don't turn
gonna
around.
chase.
Are they gonna chase us with the
I
wall?
have impale for
I have
someone.
my combo.
Just one.
Can you pluck the
Just
forward?
They're chasing folks.
L long there.
Nelisa needs help. She's gonna die.
I can't help you, I'm sorry. Let them die. Just don't play with one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm up in
They're going fire.
15.
We're going fire.
Elevate cannot continue to take that aggression to Team Rival. They respawn and knock down 2 members, Fails and Nulissa. Elevate do manage to pick up Vote, but he's going to be respawning shortly enough, and with this Fire Giant up, Rival looks to be in a commanding position once more.
Gonna have a lot of damage to confirm this objective. Deathwalker trying to get Dardas out of position here, forced to go lurking in the waters away from this Fire Giant. Without this huge burst damage, it's gonna be more difficult now for Elevate to try to take this objective away from Rival, as Nelissa's respawning in 10 seconds.
And look at the defensive relics. Fails is about to have his purification beads ready to go, but that purification beads for Nulissa on cooldown. Fire Giant started up by Rival, falling below 50%. Dardes trying his best to get into the pit. Stunned out by Collins. There's the wall. No numbers! Gets in there and steals the Fire Giant away from Team Rival. There's the taunt in onto 2 members of Elevate, but they've got the buff. They're regenning.
Ice Baby diving in the backline. Vote finds one. The second one as well. Third, not connecting onto Jermaine. The rest of the teammates of Rival wanting to find some kills. They find one onto Jermaine. Deathwalker slowly going onto Nalissa. The rest of his teammates right behind him. Vote with the Fatalis able to chase this one down.
Kalas jumps onto No Numbers. Ice cleans up Nulissa. No Numbers jumps away courtesy of that Raven shield, but Wolfie finds Fails in that backline. The problem, though, is that there's a lot of low members here for Team Rival, Tolly. They do have that Raw, however.
They're not too much mana on Wolfie, but he has enough for one heal. That's all he really needs. They could get this middle Phoenix after the right-hand side. They have a lot of damage. No Numbers jumping away. They got the Fire Giant right. They stole it away from Rival, but at what cost?
They lose 3 members. They lose their right side Phoenix as well, but I think a lot of people would argue they would have lost the game if they didn't get the buff. No Numbers and Dardes get into the pit and are able to rip it away from Team Rival. If I've learned anything from this set, Tolly, it's that I'm not starting an objective if I'm either of these teams. It just seems like whoever doesn't start the objective gets it.
So the problem was that the Fire Giant start was just a little bit too delayed. They were relying on Vote to start it up himself, but he was respawning off of the earlier death around that tier 2 mid tower, and as a result, it was 4 members of Team Rival zoning the Fire Giant, just relying on the late game damage out of this Rama to be able to solo the Fire Giant. The snipe from Wolfie was not well timed enough to be able to confirm that objective, and as a result, Elevate, they had to sacrifice 3 members just to delay the game a little bit further.
But it is getting pretty late here, Tolly. Uh-oh, No Numbers just jumps onto that red buff, and all of Rival watched him do it. Luckily, he's able to get out of danger there, not punished for trying to farm up his own jungle. This game is getting later and later. While there's still a lot of towers on the board here for Rival, if Elevate can find multiple kills, they may be able to try and make that march towards the Titan because of the extended respawn time.
But there's an X factor here, Aggro. That factor is going to be the fire minion waves flooding on the right-hand side that Elevate is going to have to handle, because as long as Rival delayed this, those waves will enter the Titan room.
Ice Baby up looking for a target, but all of Elevate is so far back. Ultimate wasted there for Team Rival. No chance to engage. Really only No Numbers was the target, and that's not who you want to be ulting.
Definitely not a level 18 Odin in the late game with the Spirit's Robe, Winged Blade, Pestilence, Breastplate of Valor. Very resilient is this Odin.
Nulissa, top of the player damage charts right now, despite the 2-5 and 5 scoreline. Really needs to get that Rod of Tahuti up and ready to go. Wolfie has forgone the Rod of Tahuti in this matchup, instead electing for a little bit more physical defense after completing his Rod of Asclepius.
Could potentially see him sell that Dynasty Plate Helmet in the later stages of the game if it extends another 5 to 6 minutes, but either way, Wolfie, though, surprisingly enough, using that heal very early in this encounter.
There's the Blink pluck. Dardes immediately in trouble after Vote uses the Purification Beads, and immediately all of Elevate and Rival back up.
And with that, Fails is going to be looking to blink and use that Fear No Evil onto Vote. If he can successfully do it, this could be Elevate's fight.
Blink number 2 comes out. That one's onto No Numbers. Phantom used by Deathwalker and taunted right back into the snipe. Vote finds the kill on the No Numbers. Fails, still lurking, waiting for his opportunity.
Vote was so far back, expecting those 2 blinks to be used by both Fails and No Numbers, but still holding on to it is Fails. Not able to really find the right timing of the window. He could have potentially tried to wrap between mid.
Oh, there's the stun beautifully. It keeps Fails in combat. Uses the Purification Beads and jumps forward. Vote eats that Fear No Evil, but the meditation is good enough to keep him healthy. Fails falls pretty low as Jermaine finds Kalas. Predicted Ice Baby comes dunking down. Right was waiting for Fails on the ground. Another kill. 2 dead now for Elevate as they try and keep their Titan alive.
Deathwalker going to take a little bit of poke from Nalissa. That Titan took about half of its health because of the right side Phoenix that was exposed. I mentioned it earlier here, Aggro. Those fire minions paying dividends because now Rival, they could look to end this game almost anytime they want. Once Kalos revives here, with these 2 side Phoenixes being down, this is going to be easy pickings for the late game Rama.
Fire Giant almost due to respawn, right around 15 seconds to go. This is a perfect opportunity for Rival to grab this Portal Demon and knock it down. go back to base, spend their gold, heal up, come right through, and the Fire Giant will be there waiting for him.
Rival are just needing to play it as safe as possible here. They want to go to this next step against Enix. The Fire Giant is going to be the last nail in the coffin before the final siege is being attempted. Rival are looking very good here in this last game of the best-of-3 set.
No Numbers is in this right side jungle, but decides against trying to repeat his and Dardez heroics in that pit that they did earlier on. Wolfie gets the spectral armor here, totally. Not the cooldown option, the Breastplate of Valor, instead just the physical protection, but it's about that passive, getting everyone away from him whenever he's hit by a physical ability.
Self-peeling. Whenever the blink happens from Fails with the Fear No Evil, he's not going to be able to really follow up unless he decides to use that purification beads. Rival secures the Fire Giant, no contest from Elevate. They have to be able to secure the safety of their Titan Room unless they want to lose the game, obviously, which is why we see such passive warning here. Sentry warning around the left side, Phoenix, and between the left and the mid, just to ensure there's no backdoor potential coming out of Rival.
Deathwalker could basically teleport in and solo the Titan. It's such a low HP right now. That's why you see it's Sentry wards and not just regular ones, making sure there's no opportunity for that sort of play. I don't know if Elevate can really afford to wait, and they don't. There's the blink hit from No Numbers. No Phantom available this time. Vote forced up into his ultimate defensively early on, but uses it to put Nulissa down to half HP. There's the Fear No Evil waiting for him on the ground, but Vote turns it around and finds the kill onto Fails. Ice cleans up Nulissa. The jump forward from Deathwalker and Collis right onto No Numbers. Snipe hits the mark. 3 dead now, and Team Rival is marching on to face off against Enix.
And the left side, Phoenix is exposed, and the Fire Minutes will end the game. Team